A very good morning, dear students. So the topic of today session is composition of atmosphere, temperature conditions of the atmosphere, elements of weather and climate. Because all these things are actually basically to start with the temperature conditions, or if we want to know the details of the temperature conditions, we actually should know the elements of weather and climate. We actually should be knowing the composition of atmosphere, because these are all going to be the important factors which are going to play a major role in the temperature conditions. So let's start. Atmosphere, as we all know, it's a layer of gaseous, a gaseous envelope which actually surrounds the planet Earth. So if we say this is the surface of the Earth, like this is the surface of the Earth. So the atmosphere is a layer which is actually surrounding the Earth. Layer of gases, mixture of gases, then water vapor, and then dust particles. So these are all the components of weather, and these are all the components of atmosphere. So to know the composition of the atmosphere, which we actually should know, what are the main important components of the atmosphere? So the important components of the atmosphere, which actually forms a layer around the or to a certain height on the surface of the Earth, which actually supports the life system, and that's why Earth is having a life, or Earth is the only planet in our solar system which is actually sustaining life because of this atmosphere. And the components, the chief components of this atmosphere is gases, water vapors, and dust particles. So let's come to the gases. So if we talk about the gases, so what are the main important gases which actually surrounds the, which actually makes up the atmosphere? So these gases are nitrogen and oxygen. So nitrogen and oxygen are the chief component, or we can say are the major components. If we talk about the gases, these are the major components of the which actually forms the Earth atmosphere. So their concentration is in the atmosphere of the Earth together makes up the 99% of the Earth atmospheric gases are actually composed of nitrogen and oxygen. And in that again, nitrogen plays a very important role with its concentration of, with its percentage of 78%, and oxygen is nearly about 21%. And the remaining 1% is being shared by many other gases. And this carbon dioxide is also one of the important gas, although its quantity, or its percentage is too low, but still that is going to play a major role in the atmosphere, in the temperature conditions, in the weather conditions of our Earth's surface, or we can say of the atmosphere. So the next important component of our atmosphere is water vapor. Water vapor, as we all know, it is the gaseous state of the water, and water vapors are present in the atmosphere, although we cannot see them, but yes, definitely we can feel them, and that is very much related to our physical comforts level also. So the presence of water vapor is again very important for the weather and the climatic conditions, or for the life sustainability. And then comes the dust particles. Dust particles are all the particulate, matter that is also already present in the particles, small particles, solid particles that are present in the Earth's surface. That is called the dust particles, and that plays again a major role in the climate, in the weather conditions of the atmosphere of the Earth, because these are it is only because of the presence of these particles that the scattering of the light is there. We see different colors at the dawn, at the sunset, and also this provide the main, we can say the hygroscopic nuclei, and around this only the clouds are actually condensing themselves, or the water vapor condense in itself to form the clouds. So water dust particle plays a major role. So these are the three main components. These are the three main components of the atmosphere. Then if we come to a very short, a quick recap, we will be giving on the structure of the atmosphere. So if I talk about the structure of the atmosphere is like this. This is troposphere, which is the most lowermost layer of the atmosphere. Then we are having stratosphere. Then we are having mesosphere, and then we are having thermosphere. So these are all the structure of the atmosphere, and we should be knowing that as we are moving up, as we are going upward, the concentration of these components, which we have discussed, is going on decreasing, because it's going to be decreasing in a decreasing order. Why? Because most of the atmosphere is quite dense in the lower layers, and as we go up, the atmosphere is not as dense as it is in the lower layers. So this is the fact that why, because this fact is very important to know, because it is only on the basis of this we will be understanding in a better way the temperature conditions of the atmosphere. So these are the 4 layers. Again, these layers have their own importance. In the troposphere, which is the lowermost layer, all the weather phenomena takes place here only. Then we are having stratosphere, and along with this, the temperature is again decreasing in the troposphere. This we will be covering in when we will be discussing the vertical distribution of temperature. Then only it would be quite clear to you. And the temperature is decreasing in this troposphere, then temperature is increasing in the stratosphere because of the presence of ozone layer in the stratosphere. Yes, ozone layer is in this layer, stratosphere. And then mesosphere, again, temperature is decreasing. And then thermosphere. And in thermosphere, there is the presence of ions, and the temperature is again increasing. But at this stage, the atmosphere is quite rarefied that the high temperatures of the thermosphere actually cannot be felt to us. So this is so true about the thermosphere. So this was a quick recap about the structure, because if you want to know better know the details of the temperature conditions, you should be knowing this roughly the structure of the atmosphere. So coming again to our component, yes, components is being done. Structure is being shared, being discussed in a very quick recap. So now we are knowing the component of our atmosphere. Why these components are important? Because it is only, and how they are going to play a role in the temperature conditions of the atmosphere. Because it is only because of these components of the atmosphere, actually our atmosphere is there. Because our atmosphere is what? Atmosphere is the combination of all these components. This is what atmosphere, and this helps in the sustainability of life on the planet Earth. So this is atmosphere. And it is because of the presence of these gases, dust particles, and water vapors, actually the climate and weather is actually being created, and it actually plays a major role in all the weather phenomena, we can say. Okay. So now again coming to the point of what is weather and what is climate. So more or less we are using these terms in a similar sense, but yes, definitely there is a difference, weather and climate. So before coming to that difference also, we first of all need to understand the elements of weather and climate. Like we have discussed the components of atmosphere, that's only we can be knowing. That's only we will be able to know what is actually the atmosphere by knowing the components of the atmosphere. In a similar way, by knowing the elements of the weather and climate, we would be knowing that what actually comprises the weather and what actually comprises the climate, or we can say, but the elements are same. There is a very small difference between weather and climate, but yes, the elements are quite same. So weather is the atmospheric condition. Atmospheric conditions. Atmospheric conditions, when I am using this word, what does it mean? Atmospheric conditions means, again, the components of the atmosphere which we have discussed. So the atmospheric conditions of a particular place is called weather. And for a short time, so this is very important here to know that weather actually is all about the short duration of time, be it a day, be it a week, or be it of some hours. But the climate is the similar conditions of the atmosphere, the sum total of the atmospheric conditions, but for a very long period of time. And climate is climate is not a matter of a day. It's actually a matter of roughly about minimum of 30 years. So we take the averages of 30 years and then we are able to decide the climate of a particular place. So that's why we can say that weather keeps on changing, but climate is overall like, for example, I must say that we know that India is having India is a tropical country, a warm tropical country. But on a bigger note, we can say that we are having four major seasons. We are having four major seasons. A season can be summer season, winter season, then we are having monsoon season or spring or autumn, roughly if we talk about. These are the four prime seasons of our country, or we can say the four climates of our country. Summer season, or we can say in the summer climate, the climate is summer, we can say roughly, because the climate overall is summer. But yes, there can be a very cool day, there can be a very rainy day. So that is weather condition. That is the weather condition. And overall in a very winter climate, there can be some days which are too sunny, in which are too dry. So this is all about your weather and climate. Climate is generally is on a broader aspect, and weather varies from day to day, from week to week, or it can be generally for a week. That's it. So now, what are the important elements which actually decides the weather and which actually makes up the weather condition? So there are important elements. And these important elements, or we can again say that these are the important components. These important components are temperature, then your pressure, which is actually the air pressure, then humidity, some more, you can also add cloud cover, visibility. So these are all the important elements of weather and climate. But the chief three elements of weather and climate are the temperature, pressure, and humidity, which actually plays a major role in deciding the temperature and pressure of a particular, and temperature and in deciding the climate or weather conditions of a particular area or of a particular place. So coming again to the point, yes, what is temperature? Temperature is the degree of hotness and coldness of a particular place. Then we are having, and the degrees, and this is measured actually with the help of a thermometer. And there are various scales on which we actually measure the temperature: Celsius, Fahrenheit, Kelvin. These are all the scales to measure the temperature. And basically, temperature is what? How the various, particles are moving in the atmosphere, that actually makes up the temperature. So if they are moving quite fast, the temperature is high. And if they are moving quite slow, the temperature is low. Because the movement of these particles actually decides the kinetic energy, or actually influence the kinetic energy of the atmosphere, and that in turn is actually measured and is actually, we can include that in the temperature. Then we are having pressure. Pressure is a particular column of air is exerting its pressure on the surface of the earth. So let me just clear this and again draw this. So if I must say that this is the earth surface. So a particular column of air actually is exerting its pressure on the Earth's surface. And this pressure is known as air pressure or atmospheric pressure. And no doubt, yes, definitely gravity is the main reason. And the component of atmosphere, components which we discussed earlier are quite, their percentage is quite high near the Earth's surface. So that's why we can relate that atmospheric pressure is quite high near the Earth's surface. And as we are moving upwards or as we are gaining the height, this atmospheric pressure is decreasing. And this is also true in the case of altitude of the different places. So we can say that as the altitude is increasing, the air pressure is decreasing. And air pressure is also high because near the Earth's surface, which we have already talked because of the gravitation. And where the components of these atmosphere like temperature, pressure, wind, their components or their percentage is low, the air pressure is automatically lowers down, is automatically slow, comes to the decreasing level. So the air pressure is measured in millibars. It is always measured in millibars. And barometer is the instrument which is used to measure the air pressure. And yes, air pressure plays a major role in our climate because it is only because of the air pressure. It is only because of the levels of air pressure that wind movement is affected. And wind plays a major role in in bringing the temperature changes, in bringing the temperature changes, in deciding the weather conditions. So it is always the air pressure which is the root cause for the wind movement. And again, the air pressure is again the outcome of temperature differences. So sun and temperature differences is because of the sun's energy. So ultimately, the main driver of our atmosphere is the solar energy that we all know. Nothing new in this. And yes, humidity, the third important element of weather and climate. The elements of weather and climate are generally same. It is only the difference of the timing. So humidity is the amount of water vapor present in our atmosphere. When we measure that, how much water vapor is there in our atmosphere, that is known as humidity. So humidity again not visible to us, but yes, definitely the presence of humidity is again very much important for all the weather phenomena to be taking place. So that's why humidity is the important component element of the weather and climate. So sorry. And next is cloud cover, which are again cloud cover, we can say wind speed, visibility. So these all actually together makes up the weather and climate. But for our understanding, the basic three components are the atmospheric pressure. We were talking that it can be measured with the help of barometer. And yes, pressure plays a major role because it is only because of the pressure condition or the pressure differences that the wind speed is affected and the wind flows. And wind, which is again the major important element of weather and climate, because always you people find that there are, if we talk about the weather conditions, the wind speed, the wind directions are always given. So that comprises the important, the elements of weather and climate. So the wind speed is always dependent on the pressure conditions, or we can say the differences in the pressure is pressure gradient. And also, yes, definitely the distance between the places of high pressure and low pressure. And there is a rule that wind always moves from high pressure to low pressure. So this is the important fact which you people must be knowing to relate various phenomena of weather and climate. And now, if I talk about the temperature, coming to the point of temperature, Temperature conditions of the atmosphere, because this is something very general which we all should be knowing, that the temperature keeps on changing every day. Every day, in every season, we are having different types of temperature. On a certain part, in a certain part of the earth, we are facing different temperatures, and on another part, we are having totally different. Within a country, within a state, we are having so much variations in the temperature conditions, and these all are because of the elements of, and these all are because of the composition of atmosphere. The major role is being played by the components of the atmosphere, and also the major role is being played by the various factors, which is very important to discuss here. So for that, we must say that temperature conditions are basically controlled by the latitude of a place. The foremost important factor is latitude. Then altitude. Then differential heating of land and water. Then angle of inclination. Angle of inclination also plays a major role. Then prevailing winds. How the winds are blowing. Ocean currents. Duration of sunshine. So these are the various factors which actually plays their important roles in the temperature of a particular place. So the most important, or first of all, the major role again is being played by the latitude of a place. For that, I need to draw a rough sketch of the view. So if I talk that this is the Earth and this is the 0 degree, which is our equator. And as we all know, this is the Tropic of Cancer, 23.5 degree north. This is the Capricorn, 23.5 degrees south. So this is the Capricorn, this is the Cancer. This is the Arctic. This is the North Pole, this is the South Pole, and this is the Antarctic Circle, which is at a 66.5 degrees south latitude. So these all are the latitudes of the Earth. And yes, they play a major role while deciding the temperature of a particular place, because we all know that you people must have come across that these are the tropical latitudes, these are the warmer places of the Earth. Yes, definitely. The tropics, the area between the places or the latitudes from 0 to 23.5 degree in both the hemispheres, be it the northern hemisphere, be it the southern hemisphere, are actually the warmer places as compared to the rest of the part of the world. But the story behind this is that, because as we all know, the Earth's revolution is being completed in 365 days, roughly a year. And during this course of revolution, when the Earth is moving actually around the sun, and it completes its revolution in 1 year, it is always this part which is actually which is actually facing the sun. So these limits are the higher limits. And in between these limits, always the sun is there. We can say we always say that it is the movement. The sun is moving northwards. The sun is moving downward. But no, it is not the sun. It is basically the Earth moving, as we all know. And in this course of movement in the whole year, it is this part of the Earth which is quite closer to the sun all the time. So that's why these are the tropical zones. Or we can say that equator is the place where there is always the presence of the sun. Now, if we talk about in that way also, that's the sun is moving, because it's the apparent movement of the sun. If we talk about this way, that the sun is moving, so the major, the limits of the movement of the sun is from 21st June to 20, where is it? 22nd December. It is moving, it is on 21st June, which is the summer solstice. It is 21st June, which is the summer solstice. The sun is on the Cancer, the Tropic of Cancer. So it is this part of the earth which is actually facing a lot of heat. Then moving downward, and from 21st June, it actually starts its downward journey towards the southern hemisphere, and on 23rd September, it comes to the equator. So that's why the temperatures are equally, or the day and night are equal on the earth, because it is on equator, the sun. Now, temperature in the northern hemisphere also goes on decreasing. Then by 22nd December, it reaches the Tropic of Capricorn, which is in the southern hemisphere. That's why the people of the northern hemisphere are actually facing the cold weather seasons. And in some places of the northern hemisphere, it is actually totally ice, or the presence of, the temperatures are freezing at in some parts of the northern hemisphere, because which is completely devoid of the sunlight or of the sun heat. Because as we have already discussed, that it is only between the Cancer and the Capricorn that the sun is actually moving. So that's why some places are on the earth are like this, which are never going to face sun directly. That's why these places are warm when the sun is in their hemisphere, and these places are quite experiencing a freezing temperatures when the sun is away from their hemisphere. So very common that northern, and there is also a tilt of the earth, which we all know that the earth is not straightly, placed in the space. It is with the slight tilt, and it is because of these tilts also there are very much differences in the seasons. So yes, coming back again to the point of latitude. So I think with after discussing this phenomena of the sun movement, we actually able to relate how the latitudes are actually influencing the temperature of a particular place. So yes, by knowing this, you can on a broader note, you can just tell that which places of the earth are going to be warmer. When the sun is here, obviously these places are going to be much warmer than these places, And when the sun is here, these places are going to be quite warmer. And this is the reason that when the sun is in the southern hemisphere on 22nd December, so that's why summer Christmas is being celebrated in the countries like Australia, in some countries of South Africa, South America. So this is the uniqueness of the phase of the movement of the earth, quite natural. But yes, now comes to the point of altitude. Altitude plays a major role in deciding the temperature, because we all know that this is again a rule that as we are moving upward, the temperature starts decreasing at a rate of 6.5 degrees Celsius per 1000 meters, which is actually called the normal lapse rate. The average normal lapse rate is 6.5 degrees Celsius per 1000 meters. So this is the normal lapse rate. And why temperature decreases with increasing height? Because the atmosphere, components of the atmosphere, which we have earlier discussed, that components are actually decreasing with the increasing height. And their concentration is being decreasing. So how does it affect the temperature? If we say that these are the components of the atmosphere, which are quite dense near the surface of the earth, and as we are moving upwards, these are like this. So how does it affect the temperature? Because these components are capable of holding the heat, of retaining the heat. So as we are moving upwards, these components are decreasing, their concentration is decreasing, and when their concentration is decreasing, so the temperature holding or the heat holding agents, we can say, they are missing or they are decreasing. And when the heat holding objects are decreasing, so heat retention is not being there. Yes, as we are moving upwards, sunshine is more. Sunshine is more clear rather than at the plain places. That's why when we go to the hilly areas or to the hill stations, the sunshine is not generally bearable. It is quite, scorching. But at the same time, when we move towards the shade, the temperature is not that much. Why? The reason is that in that places, it's just the matter of sunlight and shade. That is only going to decide the your feeling of comfort. But if we say that the temperature holding objects are there, no, they are not in that quantities there. So that's why the heat retention is not there. The temperature is not there. Only insolation is high. Insolation is what? Incoming solar radiation. Not retention, only incoming solar radiation, that is insolation. And insolation is quite high in hilly areas. Again, the reason is that atmosphere is quite clear there. I must say that if this is a place on the surface of the earth, which is having on this altitude, suppose if in our state, here also, I would like to mention the place Leh. If we talk of Leh, so sunlight is quite clear because it is on the higher altitudes. The major atmospheric layer, which is dust particles, water vapors, that is not there. So sunlight is not being trapped, not scattered. So if we say this is Jammu, so sunlight is quite clear over here as compared to Jammu. But in this area, obviously sunlight or insolation is quite high. And it makes us uncomfortable too. But as soon as we move into the shade, we will feel cold. We will feel cold. Why? The reason is because temperature holding agents are not there, or the heat holding agents that actually contributes to the high to the temperature conditions are actually not being there, or they are in lesser quantities. That's why people face the problems of oxygen, and they are actually because the atmosphere is rare. Atmosphere, the concentration of gases is not that high as it is in the plains. But these gases, these dust particles, these water vapors, which are quite high, the concentration of which are quite high in the plains, at the same time, this concentration is making the temperatures high because they are creating high, they are actually contributing to increase the temperature of a particular place. So with this, I think that some concept is clear of the altitude, that why when we move towards the higher altitude, the temperature decreases because of the components of the atmosphere also goes on decreasing. Their concentration is quite high near the surface, and their concentration is going on decreasing as we move upwards. This is the reason that when we move upwards, the temperature also starts decreasing. Now, differential heating of land and water. Yes, we all know that land and water, that their heating their heating, their heating pattern, or we can say that their heating phenomena is not same. The water needs much amount of heat to get itself heat or to get itself hot or cold. But this is not in the case of the land. Land heats much faster and cools much faster as compared to water. Water body take time to heat up and to cool down. But land, as compared to the water, heats up much faster. This also we can experience when quite in our surroundings. That it is, if we talk about the places which are totally landlocked, if we talk about the places on the earth which are totally landlocked, this is the landlocked place, this is a landlocked state. So that's why this is the reason that northern part of the India, which is landlocked, experience extreme temperatures. High temperatures in summers, quite low temperatures in winter. Very cold in winter, very hot in summer, because the land heats up faster, the lands cool down faster. But this is not true in case of peninsular India, because we know that in the peninsular India, there are water bodies on the three sides which are having a moderating effect that doesn't let the temperature to go to the higher extremes of 47 or 48 degrees, and that doesn't let the temperatures to get so down. So this is the moderating effect of the heat of the land and of the ocean, or we can say of the water bodies. Water bodies always plays a moderating effect. But yes, that is the reason the places of the peninsular India near the coastal places or near the coastal line or near the coast are always having a like moderating climate. So angle of inclination, which is this angle of the sun rays. The places which are like here near the equator are facing this angle. But the places are these places are getting slanting sunlight. The poles and the sun. So the sunlight is quite vertical. The rays are quite vertical over here, but the rays are quite slanting. So the slanting rays have to pass much more thick layer of the atmosphere. And this is also going to play the important role in deciding the temperature. Then the prevailing wind. Winds also play a major role. It generally changes the weather condition. Yes, we always see, even last night only, we have faced that sudden, the winds actually, the cold winds actually changes the weather conditions for a short time, or actually changes the temperature conditions. So yes, wind. And in some parts of the world where we are having the permanent winds, so their impact can be seen in the temperature conditions of that places also. Then ocean currents. If a place is having a cold water current passing through its coast area, definitely it is also going to contribute in the temperature, whether to increase the temperature or to bring down the temperatures. Then the duration of the sunshine, which is again dependent on the revolution of the earth. In some part, the day is quite longer, like if like summers are approaching right now, and it is March. We are feeling that the days are getting longer. Why? Because the sun is coming northwards. So longer the days, longer the insolation, longer the insolation, longer the heat retention, longer the heat retention, temperatures are high. As simple. So with this, I think we are able to cover the basic points of composition of atmosphere and how it affects the temperature, and yes, the elements of weather and climate. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.